Cecile, welcome.
Hi, Marcel. Happy to see you.
Cecile, let's talk about the EU Invite project a little bit.
Mhm.
You have been involved in that Invite project. Can you tell me a little bit more about the project and what are the benefits for the EU seed sector?
For those who don't know it, Invite is a Horizon 2020 project. It was dedicated to innovations in plant variety testing. So that to support the introduction in Europe of new varieties that are more resilient to stressing conditions and adapted to sustainable crop management practices. So it was granted 8 million euro for 5.5 years with an extension. And it gathered 29 partners, including research institutes, some breeders, post-registration offices also, and 10 of our examination offices, so from the CPVO network of entrusted examination offices. And so this project is really noticeable for two reasons, because it was the first time that such a big community of examination offices together met such a large group of researchers that were capable to propose new approaches for GUS and VCU testing. And it was also the first time that we gave access to a large set of data that was produced by examination offices for official purposes for 10 crops over the last 15 years. So that was done with the consent of the breeders, of course, in a very strict legal framework drafted by CPVO in collaboration with Euroseeds. And so that framework guaranteed a full confidentiality with rules to encode variety names, management of data, exchange of reference materials, etc. So I take this opportunity to really thank the breeders and Euroseeds for that trust, for their support. Because in the end, we got a lot of authorizations. About 75% of the requests that we made received a positive answer, and that allowed us to cover 7,000 varieties approximately from hundreds of breeding companies. So great, thank you to breeders. And so, regarding the benefits for the seed sector, new tools have been developed, always to try to accelerate, make more precise, more reliable, and also more cost-effective the assessment of the phenotype and the behavior of the varieties under diverse conditions. And so these tools will benefit the examination offices and the post-registration offices directly, of course, in their routine work to be more performant. But also the breeders will benefit from it because their new varieties will be better assessed and have a greater chance of being registered. And that will also then benefit to the end users, the farmers, that will have access to these new varieties and will get clear information on the best ways to use them. So globally, it will benefit the whole chain because all the knowledge gained will be published. All the tools will be made accessible to all stakeholders. So it's done in full transparency. I'm a little vague because it's really, as you understood, a very diverse project with diverse targets and diverse approaches. So it's a very rich project.
Cecile, I also know that the Invite project, together with its sister, the Innovar project, are both in their final months. If we can say that, I believe both are ending towards the end of this year, 2024. Could you perhaps already share some achievements so far?
The identification of new bioindicators for tolerance to water, stress, heat, certain diseases, so abiotic and biotic stresses, which is very interesting for assessing the sustainability of the future varieties. But another big type of achievement is the development of new testing protocols to integrate sustainability criteria into different management systems, so conventional, low input, organic. And a big achievement is the production and or the testing of new tools like high throughput phenotyping tools to speed up observations and also to give access to more detailed and harmonized phenotypic data. The genotyping tools for the management of the GUS reference collections and also the assessment of specific traits. And the last type of new tools are let's say the statistical models that can allow to predict the variety behavior in various environments, but also now integrate the molecular data produced with the new genotyping tools into the evaluation of the US and VCU characteristics. And also these models can also were used to optimize, to analyze the effectiveness and the discriminatory power of trail networks. So to try to optimize the number of trails, the location of these trails, and the way they were characterized also.
If we pull this a little bit broader, Cecile, and look a bit at the future, how do you see the future of variety testing in Europe? And perhaps linked to that, what changes on the side of the CPVO can we expect?
The future of variety testing in Europe will be impacted by several technical and regulatory elements. As you know, we have the revision of the plant reproductive material regulation. Of course, if some of the things that are discussed now are validated, it may impose to rethink the ways the performance of the varieties are assessed for certain crop groups, for example, like vegetables and fruits, where VCU was not tested for listing before. So performing this additional analysis without increasing too much the cost of the registration may so force us to rethink the role of certain actors to make value of existing data that are produced for diverse purposes that could be used. And so that would require some kind of reorganization and coordination within the sector. So that for sure will have a big impact. Then in terms of regulation, we also have the new genomic techniques regulation that is being discussed. So if it's validated the way it is now, it should open the way to a greater exploitation of these techniques in Europe. So that could trigger then the arrival of varieties that will have a pretty close genetic backgrounds, but with a large diversity of new characteristics potentially. And these characteristics may not be part of our testing protocols. And then we need to be very proactive to find ways, or reactive to find ways of assessing them. So especially, again, for those contributing to sustainability, that will be strongly incentivized also inside this regulation. So in general, it's all the objective of the breeding programs, of course, in response of the existing requirements now that are imposed on breeders or on society or agriculture. So also future challenges that will have to be so answered by creating new varieties or types of materials, or adapted to different constraints like climate change or the reduction of the use of fertilizers or pesticides. So all that already imposes to adapt to these EU testing protocols. But it will continue to be the case, and we need to prepare for that. So we have several strategic issues that are being reflected. So we do that with our examination offices, of course. The purpose being always to increase the US efficiency, the efficiency of our testing. So all these strategic points so they're pretty diverse. If I want to list them, so there are potentially the organization of CPVO testing network to have a better cost-effective distribution of the species entrustment. So with the idea of maybe centralizing some of them for examination offices that would not have so many applications for certain crops. But that's a very delicate matter, and the choice of the entrustment is regulated by a lot of different criteria. But that could evolve. We'll also have a revision of the QS system, quality assessment, in the light of the revision of the PRM regulation. Things could change. Things could be structured in a different way, and we could be asked to do more. So we also reflect on the organization of the maintenance of reference materials for the species with living collections. That in order to simplify a request for the breeders. We also try to always optimize the efficiency of the US testing. And the last big evolution will be the revision of the CPVO R&D strategy, and specifically the criteria of eligibility of the topics that will be proposed for co-funding.
Lots of changes ahead.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Cecile, good luck with the last 2 months of Invite, and I look very much forward to the final report. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Marcel. Bye bye.